Hello all and welcome, and I am the MGTOW philosopher. And in this video I would like to discuss the questions you should ask a woman before you will date her. Now of course some of you MGTOW out there are not interested in dating, you're just interested in pumping and dumping. Some of you might be interested in longer term relationships for one reason or another. Of course never live with a woman and never marry a woman. These two pieces of advice still stand, but otherwise anything generally goes. However, even if you're interested in pumping and dumping a woman, these questions are still important. And I'll tell you why later. And I think it's very important that a man ask these questions because generally speaking, it's a woman that starts the questions, starts asking them. And she's generally the one that asks the majority of questions. We generally follow her lead. Not a good idea. You want to start off being aggressive. You want to start off putting her on the defensive, putting her in her place, and letting her know that you're a man, you're going to ask the questions, you want to know what she does for a living, and that should be question number one. What do you do? Now, that's always the first question a woman asks a man. And just because a woman does ask this question first doesn't necessarily mean she's only interested in your money. I mean, of course she is. But most women are generally smart enough not to ask this question first. But what I'm saying is, when a woman asks this question, that doesn't mean she's, for example, as big a gold digger as you might be thinking. The amount of interest that a woman has in your money varies depending on the woman. Some of them might be interested in you as a person more so than another woman who is more interested in how much money you make than in you as a person. They're all interested in how much money, just to varying degrees, and how much they want to sleep with you, rated against how much they care about how much money you make. There's a sliding scale in degrees of how much interest they have in one or the other. So don't automatically assume that her only interest is how much money you make just because she asked this question. It seems to be something that's in a woman's playbook that she's taught about from day one, maybe by her mother, who knows where they get these questions from, but they always ask that question first, it seems. Don't read too much into it, and you should be the one to ask that question first. Don't let her ask. Put her on the defensive. How much, what does she do for a living? And the second question is, how much does she work? That's right. Ask her that question. How much does she work? And I'm going to tell you, this question is important, even if you only want to pump and dump. Why? Because she might not have time even for that. She might be a big waste of time. That's right. Because a woman who works 90 hours a week is going to have no time for you. And I've encountered this before. I just met a woman the other day, and we started talking. And I come to find out that this woman works 7 days a week, 13 hours a day. Now, don't let it be said that there are not career women out there. And she's very attractive, too, which was unusual. But there are exceptions to every rule. Generally, women that work that much, and I know from experience, are hags and blobs. So, you never know. But she's very attractive, and I come to find out that she works more than she does anything else. And I ask her, how long you been single? Because, that's a lot of hours. I'm curious if she says, years and years, and she doesn't know why she's single. I'm just thinking to myself, she's totally clueless. Totally clueless. You can't work that much and expect to find a boyfriend. And she's looking for a serious relationship. And I just told her, you'll never find a man with those kind of work hours. Once he finds out how much you work, if he has a brain, he'll never get involved with you. And if he does get involved with you, it won't last because you'll never have any time for him. So that's a very important question to ask, whether or not you are interested in pumping and dumping. Because if she has no time for you, you might have her number in your Rolodex, but you'll never even have time to get to know her. I mean, a lot of women mainly are interested in knowing you before they'll pump and dump you. And, of course, they're really just interested in sex, but they would never say so. So they have to go out with you on the required dates to justify to themselves sleeping with you. And you'll never even get to do that. I mean, you'll have to work hard just to find time to put in the prerequisite dates, quote-unquote dates, and time that would sort of justify to herself and make her feel not guilty about having sex with you. I mean, you really would have to struggle just to get to know this person. You might spend months and months just trying to find the free time to put in that prerequisite time. It's just not worth it. It's not worth the effort. It's really not. I don't care how hot she is. So if a woman works that much, she's automatically disqualified. You also want to ask her, where does she live? It's a very important question. Now, even if you live in a large city, but especially if you live in a large city, there could be problems with travel. Let's say you lived in Los Angeles or New York or something. Where someone lives, or even if you live in the country, it doesn't matter really. Where someone lives in relation to how difficult it is to travel around and how much time it takes is a big deal. I mean, if you're living in one part of a city and she's living way up in another part, and the metro system's not so good, the trains don't run so well, as is often the case in American cities where, for some reason the infrastructure's not well developed, you could have a really hard time traveling around, especially with the way traffic is. You might say, oh, you're only 30 blocks away. Yeah, but 30 blocks could be a lot, depending on the traffic. And if they're further away than that, well, you could be in serious trouble. So you got to take these things into account when you are vetting women. Guys tend to overlook these things and just see a hot piece of ass, and they don't tend to think too much about the other peripheral things that affect you getting your hands on that ass when you want it or need it. And these are the most important questions, probably. How much does she work, and where does she live? You're not going to tap that ass if it's 90 miles away, okay? You're not going to tap that ass if she works 90 hours a week, okay? If she's going to have no free time for you, and there's a reason that she hasn't had sex in 5 years. and there's a reason besides the fact that she works a lot. I mean, there's something wrong, bats in the belfry. She's got some problems, if you know what I mean. And also, you want to ask, how long has it been since she's had a relationship? You don't want to be so crass as to ask how long it's been since she had sex. But the third question you should ask is, so how long has it been since you had a serious relationship? Now, most women will be smart enough to lie about this if it's been a long time. If they've got issues, if they've got problems, they'll be self-aware enough to know, I don't want to tell them it's been 5-6 years since I had a man. Which by itself should warn you this is not someone you want to date. But a lot of women are totally lacking in self-awareness, so they will tell you, it's been 6 years. Oh, what the hell? Wait a second. What's wrong with you? You want to ask them the nature of that relationship. Now, if it was a marriage, okay, they have then been turned off of men. If it was a relationship, they have also been turned off of men. Something went wrong. Something went seriously wrong that damaged them, and they're such a delicate snowflake, so easily harmed by the vicissitudes of life that they are now damaged goods. It's not too hard to identify damaged goods if you ask the right questions. And just finding out how long it's been since she's been in a relationship is automatically going to tell you whether or not she's got issues. And I don't care how normal she might seem, but if some chick says to you, it's been 6 years since I've had a boyfriend or a husband, you get the fuck out of there immediately. Because people have needs. Women have needs. Men have needs. And if she's running around and not fulfilling these needs, now, of course, it is possible that she's just pumping and dumping as well. But the key thing is that is not a normal way for a woman to be. You see, this is not a double standard. You could say, oh, that's a double standard. Men can be that way. Women cannot. Oh, that's not right. No. I'm acknowledging the differences between men and women. For men, it is normal. We are more lone wolves. We are biologically programmed to spread our seed. Women are biologically programmed to get pregnant, have babies, find a mate to protect and take care of them. To not be doing that, to go against that biological imperative, means there's something wrong with her. That's not natural for her. We embrace what's natural for us as men. Women, to go against that, well, she's probably a feminist. Cunt. And if that's the case, you don't want to have anything to do with her at all. Now, you could, if you've gotten to this question after 1, 2, and 3 and gotten negative answers, dare to ask the fourth question. Does she believe in equality between men and women? But that's a brainwashed question. That's a loaded question. It's always going to get the same response because people in the West are essentially programmed to believe that men and women are equal. So that's not an automatic disqualifier because, frankly speaking, everybody's taught to believe that, even men. Now, these next questions for me are just periphery questions, not as important to me, but still somewhat important as they would affect whether or not I wanted to have anything to do with this person. So the next question I would ask is, who do you think should pay the bill, say, for dinner or drinks? Do you feel the man should pay? Are you more of a traditionalist, or do you feel that they should split it, pay for their own bills, for example? Now, the kind of woman I'd want to be around would say, oh, we pay for our own bills. If she says that, oh, I expect a man to pay, I'd leave. That's me, but I would leave. And if I were you, you should leave too. So when I say these are periphery questions, I mean that they come after the first three. Of course, I think they're all equally important. You see, in terms of relationships or even pumping and dumping, because I wouldn't want to be with a woman who expects me to pay for shit, okay? I don't want to put out any money. I shouldn't have to put out any money. Her vagina is no more valuable than my cock. So that's the way I see it. And the next question I would ask is, do you expect a man to adhere to traditional male roles? For example, do you expect him to open doors for you? Do you expect him to pull out chairs for you? Do you expect him to pay for everything? I would ask these questions like, boom, bullet points, and I would ask them, boom, right after the other, boom, 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 boom. Where do you work? How much do you work? I mean, these questions would come one after the other with lightning speed, and I would not give her a chance to ask me any questions. I want to be as efficient as possible and maximize my time. So right when I meet this chick, who I'm not going to buy a drink for, who I'm not going to spend any money on, I'm going to ask these questions. Boom, 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 boom. And you want to do that because really it's a meat market. It is. And it's a war. And you've got to go at it like that. And you have to qualify or disqualify a woman immediately. It's all about volume, gentlemen. You see, many men make the mistake. And this is another piece of advice I got for you. Many of you make the mistake of just honing in on a particular woman and getting your sights set on her. And then when you bomb out, when you get rejected, you're just going to get sullen and crestfallen, and then you don't. Then you don't try again that night. Pathetic. You got to look at women as commodity. Big slabs of beef, okay? Where one slab of beef wasn't interested, another slab of beef might let you slather them up in barbecue sauce and cook them up on the barbecue, okay? That's the way you look at it. It's that simple. So you have to look at women in that way and lose your fear of rejection. And with enough volume, you get lucky. That's really all it is. There's always a woman out there who's willing to do what you want when you want to do it. You just have to have the balls to not give a shit and to ask the right questions. So, in recap, ask her what she does for a living. Ask her how many hours a week she works. Ask her where she lives. Ask her if she expects a man to pay. Ask her if she expects a man to be a white knight and a gentleman, that's another word for it, and do things like pull out chairs and open doors for her. If you get all the right answers, then she might be pump and dump material, relationship material, but that's up to you. But let me add again, never live with them. And if possible, don't even take them to your house. Go to her house, okay? Then she doesn't know where you live. And if you can avoid it, don't ever bring her to your house. That way, once you dump her, she can't find you to harangue you and bang on your door and bother you and maybe force you to get a restraining order. And never tell her where you work, okay? And if your job is a rarefied one where she could easily find out where you work by telling her what you do for a living, lie. And that's my advice for the most obvious and most pertinent questions to ask a woman. You ask her those questions right off the bat, and it will qualify or disqualify her, and you can stay with that woman and continue assessing her and trying to get her into your bed, or you move on to the next one. But those 5 questions are excellent qualifiers or disqualifiers. I am the MGTOW philosopher, and I wish you a good day. Take care.